Welcome everyone to Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, Taz Rashid, and I'm a musician who travels to mindful festivals and events all throughout the world. And one of my main passions is to have conversations with transformational leaders, learn about their unique missions and how they're changing the world. We're doing a short series of sneak peeks on the upcoming IONS conference, The Science of What Connects Us, which is happening July 20th to the 23rd, 2017 in Oakland, California. So this talk series is created in partnership with Institute of Noetic Sciences, IONS, and Global Purpose Movement, which is a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in our Earth's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. And today we're speaking with Dean Radin, PhD, who's the chief scientist at IONS and author of best-selling books Conscious Universe, Entangled Minds, SUPERNORMAL, which won the 2014 Silver Nautilus Book Award. And before joining IONS in 2001, Dr. Radin conducted research at Princeton University, University of Edinburgh, and SRI International. Dean, welcome. It's great to have you in Global Purpose Speaks.
Thank you.
So I hear you're working on a new book, and we'll be presenting it at the IONS conference in July in Oakland. What can you tell us about it?
Well, this is a book on magic. And when I talk about magic, in most people's minds, what comes up is either Harry Potter or
that's what I thought.
yeah, or Houdini,
yeah,
like Las Vegas stage magicians. And occasionally people will think of Wiccan or neo-paganism or something of that sort. And what I'm talking about is actually underneath all of those forms of magic, and it's the science of magic. So science and magic are words that don't normally fit together very well. A couple of people have written books on the science of magic, but what they mean is how would we take existing technology and simulate what we read in Harry Potter? How could we make a broomstick that would actually fly? Something like that.
Wow.
But using existing technology or maybe slightly enhanced future technologies. And that's not what I'm talking about either. I'm talking about traditional esoteric practices of magic and what science has to say about first the reality of those things and also whether or not there's any way of understanding it in scientific terms. So in studying the nature, the history of magic, it turns out that there's basically three forms of magic that then become illustrated in fiction and demonstrated on the stage as tricks. And the three forms are divination, which is not necessarily just seeing the future, but seeing beyond the ordinary boundaries of space and time.
Yeah.
So divination. The second I'll call force of will, which is that your will, your intention somehow manipulates the fabric of reality. So that's force of will. And the third category is called theurgy, which is from two Greek words that together mean roughly God, work, sorcery, something like that. What it means, though, is the evocation or communication with spirits. And so it's a notion of, in a traditional ceremonial magic, you evoke spirits and then ask them to do things on your behalf, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And if you're not so lucky, then they'll get you. So that's what we mean by traditional magic. It's the divination, force of will, and theurgy.
Yeah. So, like, as far as this conversation goes, like, what is missing in the conversation that you're hoping to illuminate through the topic of real magic? Like, what's...
Well, the first question is, are these things real?
Yeah. Right?
One of the things you find when you start studying the scholarly literature on magic is that it is unbelievably big. It's a huge literature. So starting at least 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, when people first started writing anything, one of the first kinds of books and manuscripts that people were writing was about magic.
Wow.
So if you go far enough back in history, it was all supernatural magic, meaning that we didn't understand how anything worked. So it was obviously lightning was the gods throwing thunderbolts, and volcanoes was because the god got mad.
Angry,
It was all divine beyond human understanding.
Yeah.
Somewhere around, probably around the early Middle Ages, people began to recognize that some things in nature had regularities to them. And this then became natural magic. So it transitioned from supernatural to natural magic. And by that I mean people found lodestone was a natural form of magnetics. There are certain kinds of herbs you could have which would get rid of a headache and that sort of thing. That you no longer needed the concept of divinity to explain certain aspects of the natural world, including the movement of the stars, and there's certain regularities there. From natural magic, that turned into what we know today as science.
Science, yeah. You can't always blame it on Zeus. Yeah.
No.
So
what this began was a way of people to understand that they actually were in control of some things.
Yeah.
There's still many things we don't have control of, but some things we do have control over.
Yeah. So empowered the people more in ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you look at traditional forms of natural magic, you have alchemy, which turned into chemistry. You have astrology, which turned into astronomy. And you have herbal medicine, which turned into pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
But there was a fourth type. A fourth type included all three of the previous, but has been left out of science. And that was mental magic. Because alchemy, mental magic.
Mental magic, yeah.
Because alchemy wasn't just chemistry.
Yeah.
It also involved the intention of the practitioner.
Yeah.
And the same is true with astrology, and the same is true with herbal medicine. They all involved intention and also intuition to know how to do things. So that I put that in the category of mental magic. So
with this presentation that you're going to be presenting at the conference, you also have a co-presenter taking on this topic from the lens of a practitioner, as I understand. And this seems like a really unique approach. Can you tell us about who you're bringing on and what's going on with that?
Yeah. So this is a mentalist, a person who creates illusions of real magic, but his name is Elaine New. And he's a little unusual among stage magicians in that he also thinks that real magic exists. So he uses, like a shaman would, he uses a fake form of magic to create awe and tweak belief in the direction of real magic.
Wow.
So I'm doing it from a scientific perspective. He's doing it from a performance perspective. And we haven't done it before, so we'll see how it works.
We'll see. I'm really excited to see that. Just, from your research with ions and your work you're currently conducting, like what can you tell us in the next few years, either at ions or these types of, like, what kind of breakthroughs do you think we can expect to see with the way our technology is growing, connecting it with science and spirituality? Just from your, like, if we had to, speculate on a few different topics, what would you say?
I think the breakthrough first will be a theoretical breakthrough. And then breakthrough is probably a little bit too strong. It's more like if you look at the leading edge now in many scientific fields and in scholarly fields also, you find that there's a new model of reality that's beginning to be developed. And so an easy way to describe this is that you think of what's the basis of scientific knowledge, we usually think of it in terms of physics. And so what is physics resting upon? It's resting upon mass and energy and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That model has not been very suitable for understanding the nature of consciousness. In fact, it immediately gives rise to the idea that the brain is literally generating awareness. So this has been a puzzle for several thousand years in philosophy and a major puzzle in science as well. And so more and more people are coming around to the idea that maybe consciousness is even more fundamental than the physical world. If that is true, then it suggests that the knowledge pyramid does not sit on physics. It sits on consciousness. Yeah. And then the trick is, how do you get from pure awareness into the physical world? And there are many people working on that very issue. So, and this is the leading edge of mathematics and physics and quantum physics and in philosophy and a bunch of other fields. If that approach is correct, then suddenly a whole range of things that are considered anomalous will no longer be anomalous. Yeah. And it maintains the structure of what we already know, which is important. We can't throw away the textbooks because they're too good. We just need a more comprehensive way of looking at things.
It's going to add on to it,
And I think that's what we're going to see coming
Wonderful.
up.
Yeah, it's just going to get deeper. So where can we get more information on the conference and how people can stay in touch with IONS? What's the best way?
Probably through our website, noetic.org.
Okay.
And then on the front page, you'll see information about the conference in Oakland in July, and lots of other things about what we're up to.
Dean, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining another episode of Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, Taz Rashid, and this talk series is created in partnership with IONS and Global Purpose Movement, a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in the globe's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. And you can join the conversation at globalpurposemovement.com, and you can get more information about the conference at noetic.org/conference. And we hope you can all join us this summer in Oakland. It's going to be a beautiful event. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.